Hey everybody, Nick Blazier here doing a match review of a jackpot match, a Masters jackpot match I played in Madison this past weekend. I got to do some cool things with that tournament this time around, including like selling some action to some students in exchange for lessons if I won, kind of thing. Which is, I don't know, it just seemed like a fun idea to be able to give like full equity in that, so we both win something, which was neat. I promised him to if I bricked it, I would at least make some sort of video analyzing the match that I lost. And unfortunately, I did lose in the first round. Spoilers on this one. But this match video is on my YouTube channel as well if you want to watch the actual match file. I have myself in the transcription on top as well if you want to like go along with the video or anything like that. But yeah, so we're gonna go through some positions and just kind of through this match in general. Played okay overall. I remember there's like one big oversight play that cost me quite a bit. But I've been playing pretty well lately too. I'm happy kind of with the results. I got to play three other 7 pointers in like an early bird jackpot match and holding right around like a four. So maybe, I mean, small sample size. And of course, I have this crazy outlier where I couldn't get anything right somehow in the eight there. But some really sharp matches too. So yeah, I've got ideas of grandmaster stuff again someday if I can play enough tournaments and focus on my game a little bit. Feeling lately like all the commentary and teaching lessons and stuff is actually keeping me fairly sharp. For a while, I feel like I'm not like focusing on my game and what I need to improve as much, but with the commentary particularly, like the whole week of it in Monte Carlo, I feel like I was seeing things pretty well after that. So we'll see how long I can hang on to that. Yeah, in addition to getting to sell action in that tournament, by the way, I got to sometimes I'll like have students play with me and they buy the entry and we split the winnings and then they get like, lessons while we play over the board and all the transcriptions from that. And I got to win that. So it was really cool with my partner, Eric Weisner. So sometimes it works out really well. But yeah, I love doing stuff like that and just getting kind of whatever my like teaching community involved in more event things or exposed to tournaments somehow. So if you're interested in that at all, let me know. Considering going to play what is it, Minnesota in a couple weekends here. Might do that over Labor Day weekend. If people want to join in with me somehow on that and get me into like the jackpots or anything like that, so let me know. But okay, without further ado, we'll actually do some match analysis here. And let's see, we'll go through some Steve's play maybe too, because I'm sure there are some interesting ones in there. Um, right off the bat, this is a fun small inaccuracy. In general, you just like making both points and trying to get to a cube, which is very strange that we should go for the blitz instead here. It's rare that it's big at all. I guess after we make a point, maybe that's a little different. Maybe that's a theme to remember. But small error anyway. But interesting. It's so nice to just make the anchor and be controlling this game. Um, and then the common like results of this position, if I have an extra board point and my opponent doesn't, then I have a double and they're probably close to pass territory in general. If they have an anchor, of course, I have nothing. But if our opponent has like equal or better board, then maybe we have a cube and they easily have a take. So we should be in a good shape to send a cube quite often here after making both bar like the anchor and the point here. So that's a bit surprising to me that way too. My opponent, yeah, down this much in the race, doesn't need to come in and high and fight for an anchor yet. Can just wait and make me improve this. Since I've made the three, I don't have the same priming threat I usually would if these checkers, for example, were still distributed on the eight or mid or something like that. But yeah, so I end up at a pretty clear double and apparently a break even take pass decision for my opponent. And this was a fun one here. I thought seen this theme a couple times lately. It's more of a blitzing game plan, but we really like hitting loose on the 5 point in this position. I like even though we're ahead in the race and wouldn't mind playing home quietly to just win that way. We're ahead in boardage. If we get hit, we still have in our anchor. We're still probably ahead in the race, and we're often shooting at this blot as well. So everything to me in the early game here, there's not a lot of downside of going for the hit other than the race can get closer, and there's so much upside. So after we hit 6 to 5, it's occasionally the case. I've seen this before too. The double tiger play of six to ace actually protects that blot most effectively. So after I hit six to five, all fives and like two three two four, 4-1, 4-4 are all hitting, right? And after we hit twice, it's like 20, but only 11 of them hit on the high point that we want to make, so we might get a second chance at it. They might fan with one of the like other checkers with against this extra board point. So lots of tactical things that can go well if we hit the second checker. Still wins more to just play a checker down into the zone and focus on purity and things like that. But we win a lot more gammons, you can see, when we hit the second one on the ace there. I thought that was a pretty interesting play. Opponent enters with one. We get to make a point. Very nice. Opponent enters with one. We get to hit and cover. Easy stuff. Bring in checkers. Oh, we're going to hit one and bring one into the zone. Try to make more points. Okay, okay. And of course, with the blitz, we're just hitting loose and trying to get home however we can here without our opponent anchoring. Back. Maybe we get to pick up another one. Maybe not. And our opponent gets to anchor. Oh no, we got a little game now. Let's see. Yeah, once we get here, just tactically cleaning up a blot for a moment. I mean, giving up the midpoint when you still have checkers to bring around is tough. We really do hate to play that 9 to 3, but I mean, of course, everything else is more destructive. And opponent covers both. We're in big trouble. 2-6 is just going to have to run. This is a timing concept. I guess I've started to see the game a lot more that way. Maybe it's scary. We don't want to be hit, of course. We can be attacked potentially, even though we have a 4-point board. But the prominent feature here is that we're ahead in the race, and everything else is like stripped or going to destroy a point. So we really need to run at our first chance. And even if we're hit back, maybe we bought time to like move our checkers around a little more before our position gets overrun. But yeah, you got to watch out for these positions where, I mean, I guess I don't really even see what play B would be, two down or something like this, and at least we'd have an anchor. But yeah, I don't know. Interesting one nonetheless. I don't know if it gives people pause sometimes to make plays like that. Okay, we get hit. We get to anchor now. Fantastic. Our opponent's taking over the outfield, looking good. Oh, they're actually supposed to sit back on the anchor and just make a board point. Okay. Interesting there. Yeah, here there's a little bit of duplication. We still have the better board. Our opponent will give up outfield control. Neither of us is really priming out that there all that effectively. So I decided to keep my checkers alive instead and give up the 13 instead of semi-killing a checker with like the 7 to 4, 7 to 3, something like this. One of them's dead now, and our opponent kind of has free reign of the outfield. Our board's getting a lot weaker, so I had to go for that. Yep, we get to opponent gets to hop out and play 7 to 5. Yeah, what else is there? Covering from the 8 seems interesting, but actually it's going to leave less shots, right? I'm pretty happy to attack with 5-4-1 combos. When he hops out, it's only 5s. Maybe I want to escape with 5s as well. Let's see. Make a board point. Very nice. Lots of back and forth in this game. I decided to keep the contact with 2 blots behind and go for a little more purity, slot a point. A bit of a overplay since, I mean, after this, of course, we only have the ace to cover and we're pretty deep. The distribution doesn't look that good. Maybe, I don't know, there must be some awkward roll from here. I don't know if double 4s plays any better this way. Maybe a little nicer. But yeah, the distribution doesn't, I mean, we can do this. We're not too likely to get hit. Maybe on perfect rolls like a 4-1 or something like that, you know, our opponent's pretty happy to hit, but a lot of times we're going to get a shot. But there's not really upside to it. So interesting play there. I don't know. I thought that was a neat one. Kind of battled with that one over the board, I think. Aces, our opponent is still down in the race, so trying to contain us, which means actually surprised by this. I guess we run out of enough space that it's not worth making the ace. But staying back and keeping as much contact as possible must be a compelling option. Sad they didn't after this, since they would have had, Steve would have had 6 points away contact, and now the 6s are broken a little more free. I was pretty interested by this too. I at least considered breaking to the 9, and then decided that, yeah, okay, good. It's a slight mistake too. Made more sense to not give the shot to me, I thought. We win a few more gammons. What is our opponent? This is weird. We sent the cube. We win more games. We win more gammons. We lose less gammons. Everything appears to be better about this play, 21 to 9. And yet, the other play is better. Must have something weird to do with the cube and our opponent opening it. Weird stuff like this comes up in XG all the time for sure. But yeah, I mean, this is still some contact and could be difficult to break, but we're, on bad sixes, unlike a .6 away, we won't have to leave the direct 6 shot for 17 shots or more. Most of the time, we'll be able to play past and then advance the other checker or something like that and reduce the shots a bit. So the contact is just a little less strong here. More sets to get us by, things like that. So it felt like this wasn't going to be too big of a problem, even though our opponent can for sure wait. But it is interesting to look at just solving that now, and maybe the least number of shots we have to leave is this 1-1, 2-1, and so 14. And we get by on just about everything afterward. So, and our opponent's board is going to get better. So we can do it right now where we can still survive afterward. That's all possible, but it is also possible that we don't have to leave a shot after a play like this. We can just roll a set later, potentially. So that was an interesting dilemma, I thought. 5-4 makes a board point. Yep, we're just going to wait. And we roll the 5s. No good. They're blocked. So our opponent chose the 16 to 15 play. What do we got here? Yeah, okay. He's just shuffling around trying to make a board. Now we do roll our set. Okay, boring game from there. People roll stuff. And I win. Let's look at this next one. Maybe we can hop around between interesting plays here. What do we add on this? Cool. Yeah, so hitting split seems natural. The ace, yeah, we can just play down. This is always a dilemma. It feels worth the tempo with the extra checker in the zone, so it makes some sense to hit 8 to 3. But it's a deep point. We don't really gain that much by hitting it. We give up our spare on the 8, so usually in the opening, we'd love to hit from the heavy point, things like that. I get to anchor, but I could have played 13 to 11 with it. Okay, keep looking at mine. Yep, another one of these where we're ahead in the race, but in the early game when no one has any board points, it's still okay to fight for that 5 points with the hitting loose play. So it feels like not committing to the race game plan, but in some sense it's like solidifying our game plan the most, and we can still play race later. This is just more important long term in the early game. There are situations where if we're outboarded and things like that, then we don't want to do it. But with equal boards and both 1 point boards, it's just worth too much to hit. So we'll do that. Our opponent could have double split, fine. Yeah, now once the race is evened out, then it feels even more clear. But actually, we can anchor higher too. That's interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought to do this. But, okay. But I mean, it feels easier to make that play and not try to play for the race at that point. Finds a split. The 6-in was not so strong. Cleans up a blot. We get to make, we get to make the best anchor. Right. Beautiful. We're not going to do anything like make the 21 and 2 anchors because we are only slightly down in the race. We want to play a 20-point holding game, the advanced one in a close race, and just get these back checkers moving. So hopefully if you have a running count or something like that, or you can just visually see it on the board, it can be like instinctual, just make the second anchor and know you're very safe, but it's not if you're intending to give it up and you let your opponent potentially make the 20. So very important to make that point there. Cool. All I want to do with this roll is just run a checker. I think really hard though about whether or not maybe it helps me move the most to do something like this. I think I considered over the board, which I thought was an interesting play. I think, we both have 1 point boards. It just opens up an attacking game plan for my opponent, so I don't know why I want to give them that, other than it feels most mobile and like I can get around to a race easiest. But I'm also down in the race, so probably better to just keep the contact like this. 5-4. Oh yeah, this is my most frustrating mistake of the weekend, maybe. I can't remember if I overlooked another play all weekend. This is the one that comes to mind. I did this in Monte Carlo in one play too. But somehow I just do not see that I can hit from the 23. Certainly I would have if I saw it. I don't remember what I even thought that it like couldn't move from there, was stuck. But so I think I also do not find the best play of all available plays given that I don't hit. Fantastic. A little bit. So if we look at them though, there's interesting merit between these two. Um, so the natural play would then, if you don't hit, would just be to play around and kind of wait. But I figured with 1 point boards and down in the race, maybe it's an opportunity to challenge my opponent's anchor. I do leave a double shot and allow my opponent to escape with tempo. Usually, when you leave something in front of the anchor, you don't like to leave it this 6 pips away, I've found, because they can clean up that blot and continue so often. Where when you park it, this blot on the 8 or the 7 or something like this, um, it could be nice to make that point. But I think even more so is that when our opponent hits it, they can't clean up all that often. And so you're going to get a shot in the outfield a lot of the time as well as in the board. Um, so it's nicer to leave that slot there. So maybe because it's 2 blots, and I mean, I do give up a valuable blocking point in the 8 by doing this, but I just figured my board point was going to be more important. So that's why I picked between those two. This is much better if you see it. I'm not sure how to work that out either. I I had some issues with overseeing plays, and then that just kind of disappeared from my game. Maybe with experience or something like that. And I'm not sure why occasionally I'm losing the focus on that. But that's something to dial into for me for as well, just to make sure that I'm like looking for all options. Or maybe when I see a blot and I would like to hit it, I need to tell myself before I even roll what rolls hit it or what rolls I want to do things. Then you're more likely to find those good plays. That's one thing that helps. I often kind of go through the numbers that are going to hit should I get so lucky. You can look for numbers that will make a point or develop nicely next time. So I think just kind of engaging with thinking through with options maybe is a nice way to help and not overlook plays as often. Maybe I need to do a little more of that. I don't think I just played this quickly though either. I thought for a long time about whether I wanted to volunteer in front or just play safe. But just had already not seen that. So my opponent gets to, oh sure, doesn't want to come off the anchor. Thinks I must not be volunteering for any good reason. Hits on the deuce instead, okay. I get to hit there, very nice. And yeah, this was interesting here as well. These run pretty close, but we got an interesting decision with the 5. Cleaning up seems fine now that we're ahead in the race, but making the 8 looks really nice to me as well. Piece of structure to get home, and I don't care as much about the midpoint in this position. Usually, a thing we learn pretty early in the game is to not give up that midpoint, but the reasons aren't as like clear. But it's a landing point for our back checkers. But once we have an anchor, we're still relatively connected to the rest of our army, and it's less important. And the other key feature of this, I think, is that having the midpoint prevents our opponent in general from spreading out and creating a prime in the outfield. But we can see there's just not enough checkers out in this outfield to do that. So if we lose outfield presence here, it's not as important as it is in a lot of games. The game is focused elsewhere, a little deeper in the outfield and in the inner board by these anchors. So it looked okay here to switch from the midpoint to the 8 point and have this blocking structure and more attackers and things like that to consolidate towards bringing this position home. 23 to 18 just running, it just seemed like a lot of shots. Probably we're going to get hit a lot. Um, yeah, I don't know. Doesn't look too bad actually on reflection here either, since our opponent has to give up a point somewhere to hit. But okay. Our opponent ends up hitting, wouldn't have given him this option if we came out. So I guess we would have had a nicer hit. 20 to 14. Where is this? What am I missing? Yeah, should come off the anchor and hit. Okay. Yeah, it's only a 2 point board right now, so now's the time to try instead of breaking a piece of structure and hitting that deep. Makes sense. Ace 5 is just going to clean up a little more. I had a dilemma here between which blot to clean up and decided that, oh, interesting, switches them on plus plus. But I thought it felt close, but I kind of thought that if my opponent was going to hit, I wanted them to leave the anchor to hit, and I didn't care as much about them breaking the midpoint to hit. Um, so I thought it'd be nicer to clean that up. But I guess maybe it gives my opponent some flexibility to play from the midpoint as well, keeps less pressure on their position. And sixes, that's right. I found this looked this was a tricky one for me too. I did not. I mean, I saw that I was going to make the two and play 20 to 14 with one of them almost certainly, and then I had kind of my choice um, between after that making the 8 point, making the 14 point, or making the or yeah, we already made the deuce point. So so what am I talking about here? So yeah, 20 to 14 with one, and then 8 to 2 with two. And so yeah, I can either remake my 8 point or I can make the 14 point. And for the same reasons we talked about before, I didn't think the outfield presence in the 14 was important. Maybe having a checker in the zone and not volunteering something, getting so close to home felt better. But it was, yeah, apparently it's a little bit better. You can see we're pretty disconnected here. We do like to have the 14 landing spot. Just felt like an opportunity to maybe clear that right now, you know? I don't know. It was confusing to me. Tricky play. But so when we look at this, yeah, it's just feels like we're volunteering a lot of shots, but the shots aren't such a high cost. I guess with the Blotton board and our better board, our opponent often has to leave our anchor to hit. I just felt like I was getting too close to a cube and wanted to make sure I got it in. But apparently there's just more game than this to go. And I'm probably overestimating how strong the position is in both sequences. But so we get here after a fan, and yeah, I thought I had a pretty strong double here. My opponent still, it's a small double and still a take. Tough one for me to find. There's like maybe a little bit of score adjustment going on here too. We can, do I have another XG in here? Oh, you might not be able to see it. But I'm curious if that is same cube action at a normal score. And it is clear double, clear take at a normal score. Um, so yeah, just kind of bigger shift in the window a little bit. But yeah, this doesn't look that fun to play in white shoes. I don't really. It's hard for me to fault the pass too much. Looks scary. Like there's certainly a lot of gammons. It's hard to estimate that you're winning 33% maybe. That was a tricky one. All right, I'm gonna start scrolling through for plays. I don't think I flagged anything big in there, but those were some of the big moments of the match. I end up like doing good things in here anyway. What is this blunder? Oh yeah, I should stay back for contact to win a little bit more. I thought these are very difficult tactical decisions for me. Um, I imagined that 4-1 and 4-2 and double ones, double twos, double fours, things like this would just gain too much. And I didn't think about enough about the rolls that I would gain by staying back, but 6-5 clearly. 6-4 I was maybe not so sure about, but of course I want that shot. And is that it? So they seem fairly balanced. It's interesting. 5-4 I guess forces to clear this point instead. So what I need to do is look at dice distribution in this one. I'm sharing the window apparently and not the screen, so you can't see that. Okay. Let me add a sharing thing there. Let me, okay. Okay. Oh, not that one. This, yeah, this is the wrong screen. We want the other display. There we go. Now you can see the dice distribution. And then I'll move this away afterwards so you can see my face on the board and everything again. But yeah, we should look at the graph and see which plays are. So after we stay on the left, after we run on the right, and what do we get by staying? When we run, we're slightly happier when our opponent rolls big racing numbers. No, we aren't. We're much sadder. So yeah, oh yeah, sixes, fives, and fours are all pretty obvious gainers. Well, no, again, the fours, no. Fours are pretty bad either way. But sixes and fives, yeah, we get a shot. You can see that in the structure below now. What else do we gain on quite a bit? Double twos. Oh, we're really sad about twos and fours. So we gain the most, I guess, by staying when our opponent rolls 6-3 or 6-5. Yeah, okay. We do get a shot on 6-3 as well. Not sure why I didn't see that. 6-2 we can play behind. So there's not that many. And so what are we? Yeah, and we're trading that basically just for twos and fours. Now apparently the 4-3 hitting loose is almost equivalent to the 4-1 pick and pass, 4-2 pick and pass. Ones aren't that strong. Threes are okay still. Surprised switching on the ones isn't more important. I thought I would lose more on those kinds of rolls. So I guess I thought more of the graph would be more of this red side. I certainly imagined that these positives were here. But I'm overestimating how bad 4-3, 4-1, all those kinds of rolls are. That's very interesting. I guess after our opponent picks and passes, they're still pretty even outside. So if we enter on the 4, we're still giving them some trouble clearing. And there might be a little bit better contact through the rest of the game anyway. So maybe our contact's just better than our ace anyway. That's kind of the problem. Pretty interesting. I thought 11 only down 8 in pips in the race. It's like a close pass after running. And with wastage on both sides, thought maybe running was a decent kind of plan there. Very interesting to look at these though too. Yeah, some of these other 5-3, how do they compare? Over here, when we run, we're like minus zero .5, and when we stay, we're doing better because we've kept contact and maybe they volunteer or something. Okay, so there's kind of just general gain on a lot of these awkward numbers too, where they have to play different and give up a board point. Maybe we can stay a little bit longer after those. Yeah, underestimated the contact there. Sometimes dice distribution helps to see that. Okay, we'll hop back in some other plays here. What was the cube action in this one? Opponent doubles us and we take. Incorrect cube here. Yeah, we have a really nice board. We're ahead in the race. All these things look pretty playable with a high anchor. So that one seems okay. And oh, this was a really fun play. I almost didn't bring this up. Good, I got to look at all the decisions, huh? Maybe I should be scrolling through more. But I had a really tough time with this one. I felt like I really wanted to keep my 5-point board, and my opponent's 3-point board wasn't so threatening. So when we hop out like this, our opponent's aces look somewhat duplicated, right? Like all the good numbers have an ace in them, other than maybe 4-2, 6-4, 4-3, 6-3. But when our opponent points on head behind, I guess we still have good chances to enter or anchor or something like that, or even hit back. But yeah, otherwise I have to permanently make my board worse. And now my race has gotten worse in something that's really close. So I thought it was a chance to really go for something more bold against this awkward distribution. And my opponent's not going to like hitting loose, at least, too much, I don't think, after this play with such a nice board here. Yeah, this was really tricky. And they're very close. I win more games, certainly, my way. I give up a few too many gammons, it would seem. Yeah, which I think is going to be the same at normal score, too. But holding the cube, maybe I get a little more reward for it. But yeah, I guess the follow-up's a little awkward here, too. Am I hoping to, like, remake this 21 point? I'm not going to like my next roll all that much. But I guess when my opponent doesn't point on me, then they still only have a 3-point board, so I kind of feel happy with the contact anyway. But yeah, that was a fun one. I enjoyed that decision. Couldn't bring myself to break the board. Oh, I missed some cubes in this one. These are difficult cubes for me. I have a better board. I have the race. I have less checkers back. I have shots everywhere. So I kind of have all the typical Pratt things, but it doesn't look like any of my advantages are so much, given that I only have like a weak point better. You know, I if my opponent anchors past that, that doesn't matter at all. I still have to escape a checker, could still be primed. My opponent can is set up to improve their position very well. So I felt like too often my opponent's going to be doing fine after this roll. My major market loss, I guess making the 4 point or hitting out here, there aren't that many rolls that do that, I don't think. I see sixes and threes and twos and ones, and 6-2 is 6. 6-2 is duplicated, but 3-5 is 8, and 6-4 is 10. So I guess I have a lot of really good rolls that way. Do I have a lot of any really bad rolls here? My fives don't immediately look like they play anywhere particularly well, or fours. So probably a 5-4 must be ugly, and that hits loose here. Double fives can blitz. Double fours can do something. They can play down, and they can play safe, or they can attack as well somewhere, make a board point, whatever they need to do. So I guess most things must play pretty well as I look through this. I must not have any really terrible rolls. When I do nothing, though, my opponent can make some good point pretty often. So see if dice distribution has anything different to say about that. So my market loss occurs on these few good rolls, but it's not huge. Double fives, I guess that, oh, I'm not sharing this again. Let me show you. Double fives, I guess blitzing on the ace might win me the game, and I bring 2 down to the 8 too. So I guess that's maybe stronger than I was evaluating. That's interesting there too. Just escaping is really good with the 6-5 too, of course. 6-3 only gets hit with an ace comfortably and otherwise breaks the midpoint. So maybe that's pretty good as well. Very interesting. Oh no, it hits twice. That's what it does. Yeah, which is what I did in the game. Interesting, and I'm never too bad off. I'm still, after my worst roll, I rate to be a favorite. And my opponent can blow me out of this game with nothing. Apparently, I'm still even a favorite after their 2-2. That's very interesting. Have like even equity in that. I'm surprised their rolls don't play stronger sometimes, but I guess we just have a lot of pressure with a lot of checkers in the zone. Okay, so I'm just like kind of dominating this position more than I realized. Very interesting. And then when I hit 2 and get a fan, I figure I still have a 3-point board. I have to cover that, still have work to do, and thought I should claim it, but now I'm too good. I'm winning too many gammas. So just kind of underestimated this position all over the place. That is a good study one for me. And let's move on to here. What do we have here? Sure. Okay. Leading in the race, slightly outboarded, but I should be able to just kind of hope to run soon enough and not under a lot of pressure being closed out. I feel like I'm in a good spot there. Pretty clean game generally. Here's one where I take a little bit deep. Yeah, I like to take single checker back games. This one, I know that a lot of times if I have like clear escape and a better board and all these things, I can take as deep as like 12 pips down. But it's very difficult in these single checker back games to take with too much of a racing deficit because I can never sit on an anchor game for contact. But I have the better board. And since I don't have anyone in the way back there, I should be able to keep the better board. And while my opponent is priming me, I thought that he's fairly stacked on the 6 and might have trouble developing this. So I thought there was going to be a good amount of contact and play in here anyway, and that I might have chances to step up and hop out. It wouldn't be so scary to step up with the better board, all this. But we can see the downside of the take when they roll the double 2s and make a 6 prime. Yeah. But it was a little deep anyway. What do we have here? Okay. I messed up here. This looks hard. This looks like a difficult play to make. I think that I thought that this outboarded 4-point board and 11 checkers in the zone Of course, my opponent doesn't love to blitz with four checkers back, but I thought he was still going to be pretty okay with it with the better board, even if it's only fours to hit. So I thought it was just going to be too much to come out here. Of course, I don't like having to play either of these other sixes, but I thought I could at least reduce shots by playing to the ace. Maybe I gain something by making that later. The 6 to 4 doesn't seem too bad along with it. And at least if I get hit, I have an anchor, and it'll be a while before my opponent can make this feel really horrible. Having a 22-point anchor with four back. But yeah, okay. I should just positionally come out. It's not so many bad shots, apparently, when let's look at the position a little bit. We have two blots instead of one. This helps us control the outfield. When they miss, White's going to have a harder time hopping out from one of the back points in a evenish race. Fours hit, but I guess it might be a while before we're dead and we're going to get those returns. So very few numbers as well that only sets point. So it's a little safer than usual. That's an interesting one. That's still a difficult one for me to make, but I can see the logic of it now. I'll have to study that one. We'll give it a flag. Maybe I'll come back to that later. Missed cube here. Yeah, this would have been scary to take. I wouldn't have enjoyed that at all. Yeah, what I've found this. I guess we both have 4-point boards. I'm not so far down in the race. My opponent still has to get rid of the bar point. But I'm fairly scared of being attacked. Guess as long as I'm not attacked, I'm looking pretty good. 6s and 5s can kind of control the outfield. But my board is so bad with these high gaps that if I hit a shot somewhere along the line, my opponent's still doing really well. So that would have been a difficult one for me, for sure. Eventually, oh yeah, I find this like last rollish cube. I like this one. I didn't think I was a huge favorite. I'm down in the match. It's going to be difficult for my opponent to get a recube in. I'm usually going to lose my market when I hit. And right, so usually it's 17 shots with a direct 6. I talked myself into the cube because my double 5s hit from the back as well. So I thought exactly half the time I'm going to hit and win most of those, though not all of them. And when I don't, I still have contact, right? It's going to be a little bit of time before my opponent can bring these checkers around potentially. Might not get past the bar points. I have some racing equity when that happens too. And yeah, I thought it was going to be difficult. I thought about my different rolls. 5-3 was one of them that I considered. I rolled it. It's got to be one of my worst. But even this feels like, well, my opponent might not get back. I'm doing okay in the race after we get there. So as a worst roll, this isn't so bad. My opponent's wasting a little bit in the race too. But yeah, it's an interesting one where it's just you don't actually like sending this cube. It's not efficient. I'm not gaining a lot of equity by doing it. But it is my last chance to use the cube with any effectiveness. Otherwise, once I hit and my opponent fans or something, I've just lost my market by a mile, And like I said, it's unlikely that my opponent's going to use the cube once I send it to him. So it's fairly safe to pass on that way. And yeah, I think maybe misses a string of cubes where he doesn't want to send that recube at the leading score. Understandable, but don't need to exaggerate it this far. I still can pass the 7-away, 3-away pretty easily. My match equity at 7-away, 3-away is fine. I don't even have an automatic recube. But if I did, then that wouldn't be happening till, I guess I would still have to be at least 24% winning chances around there to take that and just whip it back and do better than passing and getting to this match equity. So the take point doesn't change as much as it might seem. And, oh, cool. You can see these formulas, but you don't get to see dice distribution for some reason, huh? Oh, because I'm still on my desktop screen. Should have switched back to my camera. I'll do that. But analyze cube information. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, so as the trailer, my live cube is down to 17. Dead cube is 26. So it's a little lower. But talk about this in the book that I wrote too. That it's, I mean, it's maybe like a pip lower in a race or something like this. So it's very easy to overadjust in this spot. But actually, we can still claim winning races, and it's still important to do so to not just give me a chance to come back into it. But instead of that, we get to this really fun. Like, I had to figure this one out too. But he does get the redouble in here. I think I think I'm a favorite for quite a bit of the time too, first or something like that. Yeah. So I turn it back around and get back in the game and almost get to win the race. But wait. Oh yeah, yeah. So we go to 3 away, 7 away, and not a lot of interesting checker plays in that one. It looks like. Well, maybe they are. But I get a nice. This is a fun kind of trailing score thing where the shot's gonna be a big swing, and usually this wouldn't be a money cube, even though it is a last roll situation. I don't think. I should check that real quick. But at the score, it's pretty easy to send it because again, well, I mean, now that he's going to be sending back for the match for sure, it's going to be very difficult to get an effective recube in. So I can focus on just not losing my market. Oh, and for money, the last roll nature of this position actually is a cube anyway. That's a bit surprising. I guess after we don't hit, we still have really good contact and the better board and all these things. So just a very strong position with how overrun it is. So if I knew that, I might be more tempted in Steve's shoes to pass this cube the same way he did. I think he understood this position pretty well and just, but it's tricky. These score adjustments are difficult. So hopping back to here. Nothing too crazy. I have to pass a cube here. Yeah, just a pure race. He gets this in a good spot. To pass the 2 away. Well, I'm going to get to pass to Crawford too. Exciting. What do we have here? I am losing the race after running, so I thought I would like to stay for contact. So I find the play where I stack up the 8 and bring checkers into the zone to prepare to attack. But XG would like me to run to the 15 because 3-1, 3-4, 3-2 are all good rolls already, so there's some duplication. 3-6 hits in the outfield. This might be entirely tactics. Might be that I just get to do this and link up and play a little more pure because the shots in the outfield are just well duplicated when stripped to mid and they're not likely to happen. That's an interesting one. I think strategically I still like my idea here, but tactics allow for a slightly different play. Oh yeah, I remember this one. Switches it to a blitz when you should keep his prime. It's like choosing the wrong game plan a little bit, but yeah, that was an interesting decision. And I'm gonna miss a cube. What? Oh, this is a fun one. I'm not sure I knew I was favorite yet. I knew I was down in the race. I have a fly shot out here, and not that many rolls that point on head. It's not clear to me how devastating they are. My opponent still has a 4-point board. Yeah, so why am I the favorite? I'm the favorite because I can roll something that wins the game this roll, but when I roll poorly, I still have an anchor game and a good chunk of this. So that's probably what's happening in this one. And just after I turn the display capture off, I'm going to go dice distribution. Yeah, and we can see, as advertised, my upside is huge on a couple really nice rolls, but I never have too much, my downside is like an even game. Even after we look at my opponent's best rolls, not too bad. So yeah, one-way upside makes it worth it for the couple rolls at the score when the cube's not going to come back. That's interesting. Very small, tough one to find, but I learned from that. Okay, I hit and play 8-4 instead of creating another blot. Decide to keep the blocking point. I also thought I don't need so many checkers to build a 5, so the spare on the 4 is not so bad. And I think also I thought when I get away with the hit that I might be getting a cube in and sending anyway. So I wasn't sure that it was worth the risk for the long term of creating another blot with 10-5. But of course we can see this is the pure play that's going to develop quite nicely. Why not have a spare on the 6, bring a checker home? Just looks a little weird, but I thought I would keep the point here. Less covers, that's right. We get an ace as well. So less return hits, that's going to mean too. Okay, interesting. Didn't want to play so loose against a 4-point board too. kind of thought maybe it was worth having less blots for that. And then I'm going to make a big... Oh, yeah, this was such a cool sequence. This is a very difficult play for me to find that makes perfect sense to me once I looked over it. But this is a play that I'm pretty sure you cannot make at normal scores. However, let's switch back to this. Yeah. So we can't make this play at normal scores because it gives up too many gammons. But I think the idea in this position is that our opponent is very likely to like send a cube when it works out or something like this, when it goes their way and just cash the game. I'm not sure the gammons are worth all that much, or we can turn it around. I don't know exactly why they're reduced so much, but we can see I only win about like 2.5% more games and 0.5% more gammons, and I give up 10% gammons. The math doesn't work out for trading that at all at a normal score. But here, for whatever reason, the reduction of the gammons means that I can come out and make a play like that for whatever they're worth. Well, I got to have the cube over here too. I'm running it for money on the other screen real quick just to see, to confirm. Oh, got to get the cube on the right side. Yeah, so 10-5, clear play. 21-16. Oh, is it that clear? 21-16 is only 0.28 off for the wins it generates. Okay. So it's a pretty good play for normal scores as well. It seems to happen a lot. It's like fairly rare that the plays are so different. I thought this might be one of them. But okay, that helps explain it quite a bit then. If the play is reasonable for money, 0.028 error at 708, 708 if I'm already holding a 2 cube, then it, like when I don't, I mean at this kind of score when I'm hoping to get a cube in and things like that anyway, and the gammon price is a little bit different here too. Let me look at that real quick. The gammon value is high for whites, but I should just try to get a cube in when we get into that kind of volatility anyway. If I get a shot, anything like that, and I'm likely to lose a gammon if I don't get out of it. Yeah. Okay. I'm talking around this and kind of like explaining the logic afterward, because it is a bit confusing exactly how I can discount the gammon so much at this score. But this is, I've just seen it before. I thought I understood this better when I saw it, that my opponent was so likely to send a cube. Actually, I think that is what it is. I think because my opponent's supposed to send a cube next roll anyway, and after my plan I passed. Well, if they're cubing anyway, let's check that real quick after their play. Then the gammons don't matter. Then I just play as though there aren't gammons because the cube's coming. So this is here. And what does my opponent do after I come out and play 3-2? They have like a break-even double, no double decision after this. That's really interesting. So it might keep the cube off me. Keeps me from passing. So there's a lot of cube dynamics going on here. I'll show you that too. So after the best play, we've got this now. So I'm supposed to come out 21-17 and play 3-2. And now my opponent is slightly shy of a cube, where we can see here that after my play, I should pass. So the wins generated allow me to stay in this game. And the gammons, because my opponent wants to cube this anyway, I don't know how much they're going to matter. So it's just the perfect situation where we're like right on the cusp of a cube at the right score, where gammon discounts are going to happen, where we can make plays like that. And just play for a little bit more contact. If that's not clear from this, by the way, the merit of this best play is now when my opponent rolls like a 6-3 or something like this, I'm going to get a direct for sure. 6-1 and 6-2, maybe those are going to play in the board before and clear the midpoint, but now they're going to be afraid to. So we certainly gain on some numbers that would clear before losing the bar point or something like this. But we help our opponent clear when they roll a 5 potentially and hit. And of course, they're going to win more gammons. So there's some trade-off, but we're in pretty bad shape when our opponent, like as we can see, we're in such bad shape that we should just pass this. We don't have the contact anyway. But yeah, I mean, we're already losing this game by quite a bit. That maybe getting hit with a 5 is just not really the priority at all here. So, yeah, I thought this was really neat to see this over the board when I was transcribing afterward, because I don't think I thought about it over the board. I just thought I'm outboarded. I'm going to lose too many gammons. It didn't seem like a play that was really on my radar, and it repeats, of course, because backgammon's cruel that way. We can play 10 to 6 with it. This is interesting that this. I remember feeling curious about why we would prefer the 15 to the 17 here as well. The threes seem pretty bad otherwise. I guess we stay more pure and threaten to cover the 5 more effectively. We don't want to play a 6 on the other side. But yeah, okay, so this is actually a pretty close candidate. But yeah, this one, it just looks like we're not going to get as many returns. Not sure. Our opponent should be able to clean up with a lot of their threes there too. Maybe 6-3 it was one of their worst, and now it looks fine. Yeah, this is a strange one. I'm not sure why we would go to the 15 instead of the 17 for that contact. Both very difficult plays to me. Can look at some dice distribution on that and see if there's any hints there. After 17 and 8 to 2, 5s kill us, and the other way they don't? Why not? Why don't they kill us the other way? They do kill us. Why do they kill us more? Oh, because we get hit. Oh, what am I talking about? Duh. They make the board point. So, okay. So there's a big swing. Is that it? It's really just that double 5s point, hit and make the board? And so we're going to lose a ton of gammons on that particular sequence, and the other stuff it's just small potatoes relative to it, I guess. Yeah. It's right around double pass territory, kind of regardless. Upside is kind of the same. There's going to be some roll somewhere where we're happy. 5-4, we're happiest. So we get the best joker after coming out that far. Why is 5-4 so awesome? 5-4 would likely be forced to clear this bar point. When we come here, it hits and can play safe. Okay. Is that the worst that we can do somehow? Interesting. I'm surprised by the 6-3 as well, if that's not a big swing somehow. 6-3, where's that on the list? Where are you? Why do I, oh, here we go. Yeah, 6-3 is pretty bad for us after we come out onto the 3, and it's very good for us. So I guess we just, somehow the different class of numbers is roughly equivalent, and we don't lose that much. And we have more. You can see there's 8 bars here and 9 here of numbers that are bad or good. So the combinations of some of these big and little and 2 bigs are better than the 3s we avoid. I just have to count through numbers to find this one, I guess. It's a tricky one. All right, tactics are what get me these days. Those are very difficult. But it's nice. I like to talk about this in lessons quite a bit, about finding the right strategic ideas. The right strategic idea here is contact. And then the small things of which place to stop, you can try to figure it out, but those are always difficult, and they're secondary as well. They tend to have a smaller effect like this than the strategic concept of staying there for contact does, right? So always good to kind of assess from that perspective too. All right, one more game. We'll have an hour video. It's super long. How do you analyze a match in less than an hour, I guess? What other? I have to pass to the Crawford game. That's always a bummer. I have a gammon go-ish score. I have any other big ones here? 13. Okay. So instead of, I thought I just wanted mobility here, but the 6-3 in a back game is maybe just too impure, and so we should just play pure instead. Our opponent is not at all set up to prime us or make us really punish us for giving up our midpoint timing bank. So common theme of back games that you want to keep the midpoint forever. I was really hesitant to let that go, but this is an exceptional position. Okay, cool. Tricky one. I think I believe the bot on that one, by the way, after some of my video stuff on other back games where they struggle. This is an interesting one too. I thought, not sure what I thought. Why I thought, I guess we can get hit with both these checkers. If we leave them in front, which might help us with our timing, but I didn't really think I wanted to at this point. I don't want to be on the bar while my opponent's like bearing in. Kind of want to build some board. This felt like it got one more checker around, but it could be that it's just more shots. And so tactically, I'm supposed to count through and figure out which one allows me to make progress more often. And this is it. Likely the case. I don't see a big strategic reason to want two blots involved instead of one, or to stay put in any of those places, anything like that. But yeah, I forget exactly how this rolls home. Somehow, okay, I get hit. I could have been off this point. I earned this, apparently. Okay, makes 2 points. I'm in big trouble. Comes in, clears. I'm toast. And in the end, I tried my best. Played a 4.3. I overlooked one play, which was a bummer. Had some other very difficult strategic concepts that repeated. So for the most part, I felt like I played really pretty well and had some good decisions in there. I didn't get to cover as many that I got right as I went through the end, but happy with that match and had some interesting things to study afterward. And yeah, that'll do it there for this one. Thanks if you made it through this far. Thanks for everyone that supported me in the last tournament. That was a ton of fun. Hope you enjoyed this. And I will have another WBIF match where I play and explain coming up, I think on Monday. So watch out for that. Switch off the desktop so I can wave bye to you too. Thanks, everybody. See you soon.